Hello friends, welcome to my channel. In this video, we will be discussing for important questions on Microsoft SQL Server. So it is a relational database management system, and normally with all the ASP.NET application, we use Microsoft SQL Server to connect our front end to store and retrieve the data. So normally if we talk about SQL Server, the important questions are, again, first is the authentication, like what all types of authentication are present. So in order to connect with SQL Server, we have Windows authentication, and second is your this SQL Server authentication. So in case of Windows authentication, we connect with our Windows username password, and in case of SQL Server authentication, we create a user in SQL Server and then we give proper permissions, so he can create, that user can access the table, create stored procedures, modify stored procedures. So these are the two ways through which you can connect to. So because the first thing is like how you are going to connect with SQL Server. Then once you are going to create a table, so what is the significance of check? So again, check works like a function. So check constraints limits like what type of data should be entered. So again, even if we are putting some checks in the front end, that okay, because validation is very important, so we put validation in the front end also. But if there is some issue or some JavaScript is disabled from the front end, then there are chances that some wrong values can be entered. So just to make sure that there is no wrong value entered, we use this check. So again, it limits the value that can be placed inside table column. This maintains integrity. So again, the data is consistent in all in that particular column. Then there are normally questions that are asked like how to find third highest marks. So again, you can have one query and then one sub query, and based upon that you can find the third highest mark. So first of all, the sub query will be, you have to just find the distinct top 3 marks, and that should be ordered by your marks descending. So again, descending order you will get, and then within that you will be getting the top third marks. So again, if you are want to find the third highest marks, you have to use sub query. So normally second highest marks, third highest marks, these are the questions that are being asked. Then the other question is trigger. So trigger is also very important. Again, the interviewer, he is interested to know whether you know this concept or not. So again, trigger is again basically automatically fired, and again whenever there is any operation on table. So again, these are the functions that are executed. So whenever a table event occurs, and again if you talk about table events, so table events are whenever there is an insert operation, when there is a delete operation, or whenever there is an update operation. Trigger allows executing an SQL code bench. The triggers are managed by DBMS. So again, if there is insert operation in one table, so there will be a trigger that will be, again it is a code that we write, and then based upon that, if we want to update some other table also, so automatically once there is any event on a particular table, the other table or the trigger operation is being executed. Then there are some questions on stored procedures. So what are stored procedures? Then what are user defined functions? So again, there are some functions that are already inbuilt in SQL Server, and there are some user defined functions. So a user defined function allows user to write their logic as per need. Again, if we have some custom logic, and if we want that, okay, there is a stored procedure and there are some repetitive tasks that we want to do, so what we do, we create that stored procedure, and then the repetitive task we create a function, and then that particular function we can call it from multiple stored procedures. Then we have other things in related to like DCL, again data control language. We have DML, insert, update, delete. Then we have the select. So based upon that query, and sometimes like some complex queries also asked. Apart from that trigger, we have the question that is asked is for cursors. So again, if the interviewer is convinced that you know how to write the query, how to insert, update, delete, again how to create the users. Again, the other thing is also that you must be aware how to take the backup of the SQL Server and how to restore, because again these are the normal operations whenever you are working in SQL Server Management Studio. So sometimes like there is some issue in the data, you have your old backup, you can restore that backup, and again you can take backup of the current one. So all those things, restoration, backup is done. Then what is cursor? So when you require to work on one record at any instance of time, instead of taking all the data from the table as bulk, cursor, you can use cursors and you can take some data. So again, it is a space where you use that space for doing some intermediate operation. Apart from this, you should also learn about a different inbuilt math function, ceil, floor, that helps to get all the mathematical calculation fast. So more or less normal basic introduction of SQL Server, in which like you can connect to the SQL Server, you have all those, like you can connect with SQL Server Management Studio, you can write all the queries, you can do insert, update, all the DML operations, all the data control operations, you can create users. So based upon that, this is what is being done at the SQL Server Management Studio. Then there is another part, and that is in ASP.NET, where we write the query, where we call these stored procedures. Again, normally we don't write queries, we always use for stored procedures, so that there is no SQL injection part. So that comes once all the schema and everything is set up in the SQL Server Management Studio. So this is basically the introduction and all the different questions that are being asked. Again, there are more questions, in-depth questions, but again, this is the basic overview of SQL Server, that is Relational Database Management System. So friends, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe, and thank you for watching this video.